Hey bunnies, welcome to another Naked Sunday video if you're joining me here on YouTube. If you are listening on your favorite podcast app, welcome to Naked Sunday, the podcast. My name is Kisyface454 and the topic for today will be long distance relationships. Dealing with them, surviving them, and maybe a horror story or two. Get comfortable, grab your drink if you need to. Right now, I don't have a drink in my hand, so I'm going to get that. I'm so unprepared, and then we can begin. All right, I just have to adjust my pillows. I just noticed that you can't see any pillows. My pillows are so pretty. There we go. There we go. All right. So I grabbed my Black Girl Magic Red Blend wine. That's what I'm going to drink. So let's pop the cork. And we're gonna pour ourselves a glass. Not too much. It's perfect right there. Now that we have drink in hand, let's take a sip. Yums. Long distance relationships. We know them, we have them, we love them, we hate them. Girl. So let's talk about how to properly survive a long distance relationship. First things first, you two have to trust each other immensely, okay? Not saying accidents don't happen. I'm not saying feelings don't get caught. I'm not saying things don't happen. I don't say, you see, this is why I don't drink in these videos, because now I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm not saying lunches and brunches and dinners don't happen, right? What I'm saying is you two should have a level of trust and a level of communication to where if something does happen, or if you see someone, you run into someone, you meet someone, something's happening around you, you're comfortable enough to, or you're open enough, you trust your partner enough, you have that level of communication, that healthy level of communication where you can openly express your feelings, you can openly express what's happening around you, and you know that your person will not receive that negatively, or even if they do, you two can talk through it and get through it and figure out how to mend whatever it is that is breaking, because it's not completely broken as yet. So trust is going to be the number one. Okay, and trust is tying in communication, it's tying in comprehension, it's tying in understanding. Number two, I know it says tied in communication, but there has to be constant communication. First thing in the morning, I need a good morning text. Either you're sending it, receiving it, whatever. A good morning text is essential, okay? Even if you're not a morning person, you wake up, you say your prayers, you meditate if you have to, you grab yourself a glass of water, some juice, a tea, or coffee. Make sure that you send that good morning text, okay? After that good morning text, you're going to get into sexting. You're going to go into the I miss yous, wish you were here, can't wait to touch you, can't wait to see you. You're going to go into sending that person 5 attachments, okay? You want to make sure that you're doing this on the regular so that you keep that sauce, that excitement within your relationship. You want to make sure that you keep that energy alive within the relationship so that when you do see each other, it won't feel like there has been that much time spent apart, okay? And if at any point it does feel like, okay, this is getting out of control and crazy, then you schedule some time to see each other, to be with each other, okay? And I don't know how far apart you two might be, but you two decided to have this relationship. You two decided that you wanted to try and make this work, because relationships within the same household is hard enough. Relationships miles and miles away are even harder, because there are so many more outside influences, and not just outside influences. You two cannot physically come back together and reset and reevaluate and talk to each other about what's going on. With long distance relationships, you want to make sure that the two of you stay on the same wavelength. You set your own ground rules, you set your own understandings, you make sure that if you give your person a pass, and I say pass in quotes, if you give your person a pass, that it's not them like actively trying to use said pass, right? Because then it's like, what, your feelings, my feelings, they don't matter, right? You have this pass, but you save it and you use it for those moments when it's harder, I want to say, right? When, let's say, for example, physical touch is your love language like it is mine. You want to make sure that your person at least understands that you need some sort of activity going on, and if they can't fulfill it, then there has to be some type of understanding that maybe once every 6 months, that's if you're going that long without seeing each other, right? That you're going to want someone else, and that's probably from long distance relationship opening up into a more poly relationship or an open relationship. In a sense, you two know that you two are each other's North Star. You two are each other's number one choice. You would die for each other in a sense. But you also both know that there are certain needs that need to be fulfilled. And if you can't fulfill them, you're okay with opening up your relationship to them finding comfort in another person. And by doing this, yes, you are opening up the idea that they might fall for this person. That's very scary and that can happen, but this is where the trust part comes back into play. And even if that does happen, we have to remember that we do not own each other. We do not have the monopoly on the other person. We choose to be with this person, yes, and they choose to be with us, but nothing is forever. Nothing is for a lifetime. We lose each other even in death, right? And death might seem like the end all be all and whatever the case is, but it does happen. We do lose each other one way or the other. So it's just up to you two to decide or to define or to realize how you're going to make it work, how you're going to make it happen. Make sense? Okay. For maintaining this long distance relationship, I also want to say schedule date nights. Schedule times once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever your schedule can maintain. Set up, you know, a FaceTime or a Zoom or whatever, and you two have dinner together, watch a movie together, whatever it is that you two enjoy doing, do it. And that could be your thing. That's another way to tie, to keep each other together. And then after that, masturbate with each other, like watching each other. Yeah, for sure, definitely do that. I encourage it 100%. I want to talk about my own personal long distance relationship experience, and this was a very, very over a decade ago, long time ago, right? I had actually the first time I was supposed to have a long distance relationship, it didn't work on my end because I literally just stopped communicating with the person, and then that was it. I was like, I didn't even think of them after, like, and this sounds horrible, after like maybe a month. I was like, who? I remember they called and mommy answered the phone. This is how long ago this was. And she's like, hey, XYZ's on the phone. And I'm like, who? And she's like, Lori. I'm like, oh. And literally the conversation lasted maybe 5 minutes because I was so preoccupied with other people. So that's why I say communication is so important. And that was my first time having a lot. And mind you, I was 18 at the time, 17, 18. So yeah, there was only so much I was willing to put into the relationship at that age. And I'm happy I did that as well, because if you're currently 17, 18 watching this video right now, you're young. You're very, very young, or listen to this podcast, whatever. You are very, very young. You have so much life to live. If you choose to have a long distance relationship, cool, good for you. But I don't think at that age, that's what you should be doing. Fast forward to my actual real life long distance relationship. Again, my love language is physical touch. I don't know what his was. It could have also been physical touch. Could have. But anyways, he would come and see me maybe once a month. Like every month he would take a weekend and come and see me. And it was good. It was great. I was happy. The sex was amazing. But I was young and I wanted to experience everything. I wanted to experience the world. I wanted to feel everything and eat and drink and taste and do all these things with all these different people. And it just did not work for me. Not that I purposely tried to not be faithful. Am I saying that right? Not that I didn't give it my best effort to be a great girlfriend, right? I still had needs that needed to be fulfilled that once a month was not fulfilling, right? Not saying that I was screwing everybody that I've ever met, but during that time, there was another person who I was in a closer proximity to, who could fulfill those needs for me and who did fulfill those needs for me. And when it came down to the relationship ending, it wasn't because of that infidelity. It was literally because the distance was insane. Like it became a point where he would stop coming once a month, and it was like 3-6 months at a time that he was visiting or coming to see me, and that it wasn't working. So that's why that relationship ended, because I just was not seeing that person. And that's why I say make sure that you're making time for your partners. Again, physical touch is my #1 love language. Physical touch, and then words of affirmation. So we can talk all day and you tell me how much you love and adore me, right? But if the physical aspect is not there, if we're not touching and kissing and caressing and cuddling and all these things, it's not going to work at all. And not saying that that is going to be with every single relationship, because if emotionally the feelings are not there, the feeling is not mutual, then as soon as you touch me, my skin is going to crawl. You're crawling it to me. Like, don't speak, don't open your mouth, don't speak unless spoken to type of energy. So that emotional connection has to be there first before I can become physical. So even though I was or did cheat in that relationship, for it to get to where it was, there had to be some type of emotional connection with that person, right? Right. And it's funny because when I broke up with that person, the person that I cheated with, they were still around, right? We weren't in like an exclusive relationship, obviously, because I was already in an exclusive relationship. But after that relationship ended, we didn't really communicate like that. For me, it was just an itch that needed to be scratched, and he did that for me. Fast forwarding, maybe a year after that relationship ended, we saw each other again, and the sparks were always there. Like the connection was always there. Like the intensity, the magnetism was always there. But then I heard that he had slept with like 2 other people from our friend group, and I was like, all right, you're a whore, bye. I'm sorry, I know I sound like a hypocrite right now, but at the end of the day, if you're not honest with me, if you're not communicating with me, if I should not have found out from anybody else that you slept with 2 other people that I know. You should have come to me and said, oh yeah, I hooked up with this person, I hooked up with that person, I did this with that, da 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 da. Because me, I'm going to tell you, right? I'm going to say, hey, did you know that me and her, we had a thing one time? Oh yeah, him? Yeah, one time back in the day, da 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 da. That level of communication is needed, and that's why that person got cut off, because they weren't open and honest with me. So while I do have my flaws, right, I do expect, you know, long distance relationships are not for the faint at heart, okay? I think if you're going to go into a long distance relationship, it should be with someone that you know, like intimately. You know their love language, you know their triggers, you know what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what makes them mad, what makes them confused, what, you know their ins and their outs. If you are online seeking love and this person just so happens to be out of the country, out of the state, out of the whatever, to the point where you'd have to probably drive hours or fly to go see them, babes, I would not recommend it. Because talking to somebody online, they can present whatever it is that they want to present. They can give off the illusion that they want to give off until you see them in person and you see the way they chew. You hear the way they chew. You see the way they stare at people, the way they roll their eyes when something happens, the way they treat the waitress at the restaurant. Do they tip the valet guy? Do they make sure that you walk on the inside of the street? I'm talking to the ladies right now, the girls and the gays, this one's for. Do they make sure that you're walking on the inside of the street? Do they hold your hand? Do they open the doors for you? For me, this right here is the bare minimum. Holding my hand, making sure I never touch a door when you're around, making sure that I walk on the inside of the road, on the sidewalk, making sure that I am taken care of. Bare minimum. You have to know if this is that type of person. And if they are not, you have to let them know that that's what you require. And if they're not willing to fulfill those requirements, then you can stop wasting your time. Also, After knowing someone for 1 month or 2 months, it's not enough time to want to move in with someone. It's not enough time to say, hey, we are now exclusively together, because you do not know if they have an ex waiting around that they're willing to jump back in with. You do not know if that person says very inappropriate things at very inappropriate times, and how you're going to react to those thoughts and sayings. You don't know their religious beliefs. You don't know their political stance. You don't know a lot. You don't know their relationship with their parents, with their siblings. Long distance relationships, online relationships, 1 month relationships are a no-go for me, and I want it to be a no-go for you as well. I want you to think things through before you jump into them. I want, if you decide to have a long distance relationship, like I said before, you know this person, you've been intimate with this person, you know their triggers. And even if you're waiting until marriage to have sex, which I personally, well, I'm not going to say I disagree with. What I will disagree with is not having sex talks before marriage. I will say, if you're not going to have intercourse, talk about whether or not they've had any sexual experience, if they'd have, how they feel about oral sex, anal sex, period sex, how they feel about open relationships, poly relationships, how they feel about anything and everything sexually. What are their limits? What are their turn-ons, their turn-offs? What have they done? What have they experienced? Those are confrontations. Those are conversations that you definitely should be having within the first 3 months. That sounds very soon, but yeah, within the first 3 months, I believe you should be having these intimate conversations. I must say the first month is like the real talking stage, the getting to know you, and then you go on your first date. So within the dating phase, you're having these sexual conversations, right? Within the dating phase, you're like, all right, this, and do you want to do this? Do you want to try this? Have you ever done this? Have you ever tried this? Threesomes, orgies, the works. Okay? Yeah, like get all of that out. Get all of that out there. And in a long distance relationship, you have the time. In a long distance relationship, it's going to work great for the people who love to talk, who communication is like high priority for them. People who they want to FaceTime first thing in the morning and watch you brush your teeth. Okay? Like that's what's going to like be the best fit for long distance relationships. Now, as I said earlier, the best I just had a sip of wine. the basis for an effective, for a successful long distance relationship is going to be trust, communication. Top tier. That's what's going to make it really like stand out, pop out, and work. All right, you're going to have a lot of naysayers. Oh, another thing I want to mention, don't have too many people in your business. Oh my goodness, I had to learn this the hard way. Too many outside opinions will mash up your life. You are the one in your relationship, and I know I'm sitting here giving relationship advice, but you are the one in your relationship. You and your partner, the two of you sit down and work it out. If you're choosing to vent, that's one thing, and even that I would say keep it to a minimum, because there are certain people who will pray for you, P-R-A-Y, and pray on you, P-R-E-Y. Be cautious, be careful. Not everybody is out for your success. Not everybody loves you like that. You might think that this person is looking out for your best interest and it's just sabotaging you, and they might not even know they're sabotaging you. But you know how they say misery loves company? Misery loves company, especially if you're going to your single friends asking for advice. No. Like, honestly, I understand wanting to talk, I understand wanting to vent, but if it's not maybe a trained professional, if it's not someone who has experienced it before, have gone through it, if it's not someone who can rationalize, that wasn't a word, with you and make you see the good, the bad, the indifferent, then babes, no, you're talking to the wrong people. Not everything is for everybody. And I mean, when I say not everything is everybody, I don't mean like preferences like anal sex or oral sex. I mean, not all of your business is for everybody to know. And again, I had to learn this the hard way. Not everybody is your friend. Not everybody is your confidant. And for me, as an only child, it's easier for me to compartmentalize and detach from people when I realize that certain things aren't serving me the way they're supposed to, or the way that I pour into someone, they're not pouring into me. It's easy for me to detach and just reset. So apparently I was talking way too long and the camera stopped recording. I don't even remember the last few things that I was saying. The last thing I mentioned was detaching and compartmentalizing. The last thing I mentioned was choosing the things to say and things not to say. Oh my gosh. Okay, all right, I think I remember some things. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying because I was making such a good time with this segment. Okay. One of the points that I remember that I wanted to mention is that a friend of mine sent me a video on Instagram, and it was this housewife, and she said she loves being a housewife because all she does is make smoothie bowls. She enjoys cooking and cleaning and taking care of her man, right? So doing those things, she would have had to do it anyways if she was living alone, and that is 100% true. That's 100% factual. But if you are doing all this cooking and cleaning and your partner is not seeing this and appreciating this and is really a slob that you have to pick up after like another child, then how much of that housewife life are you really enjoying? Eventually, if you two do not have effective communication skills, you're going to grow resentful and you're going to get annoyed with everything, and then it's going to be an issue. But if you have effective communication skills and you can talk to each other and say, babes, please don't, when you come home, just throw your pants on the floor. The basket is right there, babes. Because after a while, the first time you do it, no problem. That's what I'm here for. Second time, all right, cool. The third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, it's like, okay, now it's a habit and it's bothering me. You two need to be able to talk things through, right? And this is why I say when it comes to long distance relationships, if you two have not spent enough time together and understand each other physically, emotionally, mentally, then when you do get together, because I'm assuming, I'm guessing, I'm thinking that your long distance is not going to be forever, right? I don't know of any relationship that has been long distance forever. Like at some point you do want to come together and be together, right? Or do you plan on living on different sides of the world forever? Like it, at some point it's going to be like, okay, I need my person. I mean, if that works for you, that works for you. If you're happy seeing each other once a month, great. But as we have discovered earlier in this video, I'm not one for the once a month thing, right? I need physical touch. I need attention and affection. And if that's you, if you're like me, then it's going to be an issue when it comes to your long distance relationship. So please make sure that you're effectively communicating your wants, your needs, your desires intimately and non-intimately. I honestly feel like I was rambling for the last parts of this video because I can't remember any other points. And it really bothers me because I was on a roll. But I'm going to end this video right here. Hopefully I got everything said. Hopefully everything was communicated effectively. If you have any questions for me, leave them here under this video in the comment section. If you don't want to do that, or if you're listening on your podcast listening app, you can find me on Instagram at Kisyface, KISSYFVCE. Slide in my DMs. I answer all questions. I respond to all messages once you're not rude or disrespectful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Until next time, peace sign and kissy face. Now I really need a drink of wine because what was that? Oh my gosh.